This presentation is one that I normally give to interns where I work, but it has application for almost all of us, so I kind of wanted to share it with you guys. It provides a high-level advice for being successful in the enterprise and adopting an innovative spirit. For those that are wondering whether you're in the right place, you probably are. This isn't a terribly technical talk, so please feel free to grab a coffee and sit with us. This is a virtual or recorded session, so if you have questions, drop them into the B-Sides Charlotte Discord. I think we're on stage 3. I forget the exact name of it, but you'll find it. And I'll be around to answer them while the presentation is on, so just drop questions there. With that, let's start. Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to actually say hack in this presentation, so we'll change that to innovate from the inside. Okay. All set, let's go. Disclaimers. Before we begin, I'd like to lay a foundation around what you can expect from this presentation. To do that, we need to start with disclaimers. Some of you are just beginning your careers. Others have been around for a very long time. The rest are quite obviously somewhere in the middle. If you have spent any time at all in a decent enterprise environment, you've been groomed and fed a steady diet of the right things to position you for a great career. This is an excellent thing. However, that's not this presentation. This is more the fried chicken of a career advice. It tastes great, but it's probably not good for you. As with all advice, it's just as likely to be bad as good. Also, as with all advice, don't blame me if you follow my advice and fail. Being too rigid and adhering to the details that I present will either get you fired or promoted. These things are the extremes of any career. They are the spinach and ice cream of career advice. A good balance usually lies somewhere in the middle. Where possible, I avoid the use of corp speak to convey the ideas that I think are important. Things are rarely as simple as magenta, cyan, and yellow. You kind of get used to it after a while. Also, those disclaimers are fun and they make me happy, but representing a corporation or even having the corporation's logo on your presentation in an external symposium means that invariably somebody asks you to include an actual disclaimer that looks something like this. That's probably fair to the company. The funny thing is that this says almost exactly what my disclaimers say. I'm not giving you advice, and even if I were giving you advice, you shouldn't follow it without doing your own homework. What you get is, quote, as is, end quote. And as the bad actors in cute hoodies like to say, for entertainment purposes only. They tell me that this disclaimer is probably important, but I'm not a lawyer, so it may not be important after all. Who knows? Onward. Further, before we begin, I need to, or at least try to, establish credibility. So I'll explain who I am, where I am, and how I got where I am. I'm Jinks. I run Global Information Security Consolidated Lab for a major national bank whose logo may or may not appear on this slide. This is my professional profile. It's available on LinkedIn or other places that my employer won't let me visit while I'm at work, or I can email it to you. I was born in the U.S. state of Louisiana. If you think about all the places that you know about in Louisiana and subtract them, what you get is my hometown. If you've ever seen the U.S. television show Duck Dynasty, it's a lot like that, except without all the civilization and culture. In the bland light of the dawn of time, like many folks from Louisiana, I started life in offshore oil drilling. Offshore work in the Gulf of Mexico is 2 weeks on an oil rig, 2 weeks of free time. In my 2 weeks off, I worked at a major national retailer whose name does not appear on this slide. One day, I found out that oil rigs sometimes do this, so I quit because, quite honestly, that's kind of dumb. Also, working as a stocker in a retail mega chain isn't as fun as it sounds, so I quit that job too. While driving home with an extreme lack of employment, Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA came on the radio. So I pulled into a recruiting station and joined the U.S. Army. This was the early 90s, so they probably felt pretty good about it when they promised that, I would only have to do domestic missions, floods, hurricanes, humanitarian work, that sort of thing. So cool, sounded fun. 9 months later, this picture was taken. I can't tell you where it was taken, but I can promise you that the sand you see in this picture was not in West Texas. In the intervening 9 months, the Army spent a lot of time and a bucket load of money teaching me to repair some fairly exotic electronics. And I served in the Gulf War during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. During the war, I did war stuff. After the war ended, I kind of worked for the military, but at the same time didn't. It's a thing. The best way to explain it is I spent time in a school learning things and got a job working for the people on stuff we can't talk about. Actually, it's probably okay to talk about the stuff that I worked on because those things still don't exist in the world. Still, best not to. After a while, I quit working for the people because of stuff and decided to get a real education. So enrolled in Northwestern University, or more correctly, Northwestern State University of Louisiana, which looks exactly the same on a resume. In case you can't place where that is, it's here. That's still the middle of nowhere, just nearer to the interstate. Around 1995, I read a book about computers, built a 386, and learned to program it. And promptly dropped out, got married to my lovely wife, Jody, moved to Chicago, and got a job at UBS because, good life choices and things. Over the next decade or so, I worked my way up to be Director of Engineering for the Americas at UBS. In my time there, I helped create a product called Interchange, which was a Java-based group chat client based on the IRC protocols. That started as a way to prove the enterprise capabilities of Java in the early 90s or mid-90s, and morphed into a tool that was used by nearly every employee globally. That product was eventually spun off into a startup from UBS that was later sold to Microsoft to become part of the Microsoft Teams product. That product got me my first listing as an inventor on a patent, so good times. However, in 2007, it snowed a lot, which looked like this, so I quit and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I spent a lot of time fishing before landing a job as a first-line help desk support tech on the loan trading desk at the largest consumer bank in the country. I was answering 3 emails a day and rebooting desktops, but I was making the same money as before because that's how directors of engineering for the Americas do. In any case, I've been here for 15 years and have worked for most of our 8 lines of business. I currently run GIS Consolidated Lab on the Global Information Security Innovation and Strategy team. However, earlier, I briefly introduced you to my wife, Jody. We've never had children. However, a long time ago, she and I adopted this person. We are incredibly proud of them. They, in turn, introduced us to these 3 beautiful people. They are Amaryllis on the right, Maccabee on the left, and Camellia. Also, we can't forget the ingeniously named Blue Puppy, who is there. Jody and I were the first people, other than their parents, to hold every one of these after they were born. They call me Paw Paw, and I like it. You, however, should not call me Paw Paw. I still enjoy mucking around with electronics and making mundane things do interesting things through judicious application of the angry pixies that we all keep in our wall sockets. Shout out to anyone that recognizes that poster in the slide there. It's a MITRE ATT&CK Enterprise Framework version 1. Which I have since framed, and I have it on the wall here. When I need to unplug for a while, I do hand tool woodworking, in which I turn organic carbon foam obtained from dead tree carcasses into furniture without the use of the previously mentioned angry pixies. Usually these things are assembled without the use of metal as well, just tight joinery and glue. When I get bored with that, I learn to do hard things like sail boats or fly airplanes because why wouldn't you? Other than that, I pretty much hang out with friends in the community and feed people because, food. Although not much in the last 24 months because COVID. So let's shift focus into something that I'm very passionate about, innovation. But first, no presentation would be really useful without a central philosophy. And a few years ago, I adopted a philosophy created by Dr. Harold Egerton of MIT. Some of you may have heard it. Some of you have probably seen his work and didn't know that you were seeing it. The philosophy is this: work hard, because work is an activity involving mental or physical effort done in order to achieve a purpose or result. Simply put, no work, no purpose, no result. Tell everyone everything you know. We're sometimes called knowledge workers. For us, knowledge is a commodity. If you share the knowledge that you have, you will gain from it. Close a deal with a handshake. Though this is from pre-COVID times, that simply means be trustworthy. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you're not going to do something, don't do it. Where I work, this is called trust the team. It's one of the 5 core values. And finally, have fun, because if you're not having fun at your job, you are literally wasting your time. Sure, you might be making all the dollars, but without joy, it will be a sad consolation prize. Have fun, loosen up. Work can be fun if you let it. With that out of the way, let's talk about some simple truths about innovating in any enterprise. Take a screenshot of this page, or because it's a cybersecurity conference, grab your phone and take a picture of these names. Go find out one thing about all of them. Take a deep dive on some of them. In my career, I've met many of these people personally. Within their particular fields, they are legendary. Some of them are quite literally living legends. And talking to them, I found out something interesting. They don't act like legends. They're just people that are very passionate about doing one thing well. When Ken Thompson created the B programming language and then helped Dennis Ritchie expand it into the C programming language, they weren't trying to change the world. They were trying to write applications for the then new Unix operating system. They ended up creating a programming language that was the very foundation for nearly everything we do today. Because they were passionate about doing the small things well, they did something foundational for the whole industry, which leads us to, do something big. The internet was envisioned by a single person, Leonard Kleinrock, in 1961, but it wasn't developed until almost a decade later. In 1969, the first network switch was installed at UCLA. Email was developed in 1971 by Ray Tomlinson in order to communicate with other researchers on the network. TCP was designed by Cerf and Kahn in 1973. Ethernet was also developed in 1973 by Bob Metcalf. Dennis Hayes released the first modem to allow people to join the network remotely in 1977. DNS was introduced in 1984. The first commercial dial-up was created in 1989. And finally, in 1990, Tim Berners-Lee invented HTML and the World Wide Web as a way of graphically sharing mathematical formula with others. And in the end, these people created something magnificent because they just did the work that they enjoyed and shared it. They were all doing huge things, but here's the key. They didn't necessarily know that they were doing huge things. They learned things and worked hard to solve very specific problems that they needed to solve. They shared the knowledge that they gained with others openly and freely. It's something that we do very well in the cybersecurity community. The collaborative work from these people has literally changed everything about the way that we work today. But in their minds, they're not legends. They're just people like you or me that had a specific problem and shared the solution with the world. Others picked up on that work and did more things with it, and now we have TikTok. So who knows, right? They each had managers. They had project plans and meetings and calendars to manage. They simply shared and learned from one another. The Global Information Security Lab at Bank of America is an excellent example of the innovation that can happen in very large enterprises. It's a Starship quality lab built with the best technology available. It runs as a non-production environment that hosts all of the things that can't be hosted on the production network. The architecture is zoned so that high-risk activities are segregated from the rest of the lab and from the production network. 2 of my patents are around the ways that we segregate workloads and manage access to them. The lab is used to test vendor appliances and do malware investigations, complete forensic analysis on suspect hardware, execute training, and evaluate software from vendors. It's also used by our innovation and strategy teams to build and test new ideas in quick iterations. We have a virtualization tools that can spin up any OS in the company's catalog in minutes, and we're staffed by 7 full-time engineers. So yeah, dream job, right? This allows us to quickly assist with incident response and malware analysis efforts. The GISCL was designed from the ground up to be the most secure environment in the company and to allow us to be the most agile environment available while ensuring that we meet or exceed the letter and spirit of every control. Too many cybersecurity teams have exceptions to controls and governance because of the nature of the work that we do. But within our environment, within the lab environment, our ethos requires that if we put controls on the end users, we have to meet or exceed that control. That can be pretty complex, but it's absolutely possible. We have a no exceptions policy in the lab that is strictly maintained. So, yay for governance meetings. The GISCL is also used as a red team hide. So that, we can do evaluations and other red teamy stuff without being directly on the production network, which helps them hide from the blue team. We also let the blue team use parts of the lab to chase down and squish red teamers because life is no fun unless you're squishing your coworkers. I skipped ahead there. It's also home to another project that I was responsible for building at the bank. It was called the Adversarial Engagement Environment before the rest of the world caught on and started calling it a cyber range a few years ago. We use that environment to help vendors build cyber range management software and meet with many of them regularly to share experience and ideas that we generate while the ranges are active. Our experience and expertise with cyber ranges continues to drive the industry and allows us to do both training and required evaluations for the bank. Not all innovations have to be multi-million-dollar projects like the lab was. This is one that my friend Michael Ogrens and I wrote in about 3 hours in Java. It extended the work done by Bitly and the now defunct Google URL shortener to provide shortened URLs internally to the company because it's hard to memorize full URLs, especially if your organization uses things like SharePoint or other CMS tools. We leak a lot of data into URL shorteners, so having one that is internal only made us feel a lot better about having that data floating around. In a bit of fun, we registered the top-level domain .go internally and made the machine host name simply the letter U, totally for the purpose of creating the URL https://u.go-girl, which redirects to a user to our Women in Technology and Ops. So we were having a lot of fun with it, wrote the code, and released it into the company. By the way, Michael Ogrens is an author and a prolific Bank of America innovator who has appeared on television and in other interesting places. You should spend a minute Googling him as well. We've worked together for about a decade now. He's listed as a co-inventor on nearly 50, or he's listed as an inventor on 50 patents from Bank of America and other places. U.go started as a way for us to share things among ourselves without having to use external resources and leaking intelligence to the cloud. Like I said, it worked so well that we shared the tool with a few others on various teams. And 2 years later, we took another look at it, and it was trafficking about 3 million redirections a month, and was being used by our production teams to support other applications. It was around then that we thought, maybe we should productionize this and not have it running on a server under the desk. That, though, is often the way that innovation works in a major enterprise. Do the thing that makes your life easier and share it. When it gets too big to manage, threaten to turn it off until somebody takes it away from you. It's probably not the best approach, but it certainly gets you past at least a few governance roadblocks. Like I said, you could get fired with this presentation. But I'm lucky to work in an enterprise that places emphasis on innovation. So we lead the industry in U.S. patents with about 5,000 patents granted or applied for and almost 6,000 employee inventors. listed globally. Innovation is at the heart of what we do. So we innovate to provide industry-leading capabilities that improve our clients' financial lives and to help create the best place for our teammates to work. Our focus on innovation ensures that we remain at the forefront as a financial institution as we continue to deliver responsible growth to our clients, shareholders, and teammates. I may or may not have written that slide. We enable everyone to be an innovator. At Bank of America, innovation is not siloed to one organization or location, even if teams like mine exist to lead the way. We believe that executing and building upon our core strategies gives rise and focus to innovation. That's why we have thousands of inventors and record patents across our enterprise. But as an individual, how do I take advantage of that? It's actually pretty easy at the bank. Information security at Bank of America just crossed, we just got our 1,000th patent just within the information security team at Bank of America. You can probably Google that and find lots of stuff. So how do you innovate in the enterprise? There are several traits that highly innovative people have. First, be curious. Try to understand how things work, take them apart, put them back together, tweak them to make them do different things. I always have a browser open to Bing or Google, and I'm always searching for knowledge. On conference calls, if someone says something that I don't understand, I search for answers. If they say something interesting, I try to find out more about it. There are people where I work known as SMEs or subject matter experts. They tend to be legendary within our own circles. Some of them are speaking at this conference, and I think I have a list of them later, but if not, you can probably find them. Whatever your area of expertise is, learn everything that you can about it, and when people ask, share what you know. There's only so much that you can learn from books. Most of learning is seeing how other people have solved similar problems. For programmers, a good measure is that you should probably read 50 lines of code for every line that you write. In my career, I've written hundreds of thousands of lines of code, which means I've probably read millions. Not every line of code is groundbreaking and unique, but occasionally you see something done in an interesting way and adopted into your methods. The same applies in cybersecurity, right? If you're breaking things or making things, a lot of what you do is just looking at what other people have done and then expanding on that and changing it. I learned much the same thing when I was helping my grandfather build houses as a teenager, right? It works in every discipline, and it's incredibly important to be an innovator. Learn from others, merge knowledge from different places, and create new ways of doing things, then share those things with others. Now, let's explore some other traits. We all know how frustrating it is when your help desk ticket gets closed with, sorry, wrong queue, try again. Don't be that person. Anytime somebody asks me a question, I try to find the answer for them or find the people that can answer the question. Be that person. Never leave somebody hanging. I often get notes from people that say, hey, you helped me figure this out a few years ago, and I was able to share it with my team today. Thanks for that. Make a difference in somebody's life. It may be something that takes you a few extra minutes to share, and they'd probably figure it out in a few hours or days, but your few minutes will save them that time and make it a better place to work for literally everybody. You gain a reputation, you gain friends in the process. Don't be a glory hound, but own your own work. That basically means present your work to others when required or asked, but don't be the person that only talks about their own work. Put your name on your work and then highlight the work of your peers or those that contributed. Everybody knows who created something in most places. Sharing the spotlight with your peers is recognized and rewarded. Don't worry about getting promoted. Worry about doing the best job you can. Stay where you are and learn everything that you possibly can about the work that you're doing. Once you've learned everything you can about an area, move on to something else. Career career mobility is really easy where I work. Talk to people about the things that you want to learn. Let them know that you're looking to expand into something else. And if you become stagnant in a role or you're not getting promoted, leave it. Go learn something else. You don't have to leave your company to just find a new role and move on. Also, while you're at it, take your time. I mentioned earlier, I worked for all 8 lines of business in 15 years. So just slowly moving around the company, learning things, and using that knowledge to sort of expand my expertise into more of a generalist field, which is serving me really well and working in the GIS lab at Bank of America. Also, while you're at it, take your time. The difference between an entry-level role and CISO is the difference of a career, not a few years. So have a career plan, work hard, but don't expect to be CISO overnight. Learn the things you need to know to be the best CISO you can be before you get there. Oh, this is the fun one. When I join a call and somebody asks me how I'm doing, I always respond with, "Hey, I'm just zippy," or "I'm doing amazing today. I hope you are." We all know that person that could be stand-in for Eeyore, the person that's always tired or sad or frustrated. And hey, look, it's cybersecurity, so sometimes we are tired and sad and frustrated. But that really brings the tone of the entire day down for everybody, and it just makes things boring and hard. I try not to be that person. Try to be engaged, be happy. You have work to do that's interesting, or do something to make it more interesting. Be excited about coming to work every day, even if you have to drink extra coffee. There's Starbucks on every corner. Make it happen. Be engaging and fun. Being engaging and fun makes other people want to help you, and it helps them feel good about asking you for help, which is something that you really want to do. Diversity. Diversity where I work has always been a key area of focus. I volunteer in a lot of places that help women succeed because they're incredibly important to us as a tech community. My own involvement in those efforts has kind of evolved over time as I've become more aware of the challenges they face. Those challenges are not challenges that I want this woman to face when she works with me in a couple of decades. My company just strives to support many versions of diversity, and I support many of them through participation in various committees and working groups. Some of them are more special to me than others, however. Remember this person from earlier? They have things about them that make them incredibly special. They don't work where I do. They're putting themselves through college to be an accountant currently. Yay, Niners! And raising 3 incredible children alone. But one day, I hope they will work with me. And when they do, I intend to make sure that they are welcome, respected, and loved from day 0. Don't check that box. Diversity, though, isn't just about race or gender or preference. Seek out people that have different backgrounds and experiences. I'm a dropout from the backwoods of central Louisiana. Some of my coolest work has been created in partnership with people from all different backgrounds and from all around the world. I wouldn't be listed as an inventor without them. The co-inventor on several of my patents is from the Northeast. He grew up in New Jersey. His life was completely different from mine, so our ideas don't always align. But we always use our different viewpoints to generate a better idea than either of us could have achieved alone. All right, now some final thoughts here. Some of the things that I learned on the first day in a corporate environment are things that I still use every day. Understanding the basics of TCP/IP created in the 80s is useful in my everyday troubleshooting of challenges in the GIS Consolidated Lab. Most of the things that we know today have evolved from things that came from before them. So, learn those things and then expand on them. No one of us can run an enterprise without the help of the rest of us. So important. Literally everyone is just trying to get through the day with enough emotional intelligence remaining to love somebody at home. Just like you, just like me. Sure, sometimes people are jerks, but you can turn that around by treating them with compassion and empathy almost always. If you can't, you can be comforted that those people won't last long in most enterprises, and certainly not in cybersecurity. Look, I've talked more about sharing knowledge with others and helping others than I have about focusing on your own role. Do that too, focus on your role, but always take care of those around you. Again, none of us can do this alone. I have several friends that I chat with throughout the day about interesting ideas or thoughts. We're not currently working on any projects together, but we spend a lot of time just helping one another get through the day. Some of them I have known for literally decades, and those friendships have carried across multiple employers. After getting my first job, I've never been hired into a role that didn't come from a contact in my network, and I've been incredibly mobile over the course of my career. So, one last thing. Why is it 41 and a half slides? Well, because it's almost the ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything, but not quite. So congratulations to those of you that got this joke. Don't forget your towel. Um, Look, obviously this wasn't your normal leadership or innovation or cybersecurity presentation, and honestly, my personal profile went on for way too long. However, I thought it was important that with everything that's going on in the world, I need to take a moment to remind you of two things, right? We're all in this soup sandwich together. None of us can do it alone. Even people like me who, by most accounts, but not all, have a very successful career and a really happy life. We still need people that we can ping on any given Wednesday and just say, hey, I'm glad you're my friend, or I love you. I love you. I love every one of you. So I don't really care what your race is or your gender is, or even if you prefer Emacs over by or saying crazy things like GIF instead of GIF. That's actually probably not true. I do care what your race is. And what your preferences are and what your challenges are, whether you're autistic or dyslexic or any of the other things that are part of who you are. It's part of you, and you are important. You make a difference. You matter. I'm glad that you're my friends. Now, here's your participation trophy. Go do something useful with it. I'll be hanging out on Discord for a bit, so if you want to chat, please feel free. Otherwise, I'll just feel lonely and sad. And I think that's it.